Oh my goodness, this morning we streamed for 4.5 hours, and I was tired. You guys really tired me out, but we had a lot of fun today talking about a lot of stocks, and we actually did get into a lot of the stocks that we cover on this channel. So we're going to get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta going forward. Going to also look at GME and AMC, and I'm going to be showing you right off the bat here, right at the beginning of this video, we're going to break down the real pump and dump, the real meme stock that is actually going to cause the retail traders to be holding the bag. So let's get into it. Right before we talk about that, I just wanted to mention we put out this video on Patreon today as an update video because we started to see this downturn. And what do we say? This could be the moment where we actually turn down, but watch out in case it is a trap. And we notice what? Well, we got ourselves a little trap here. We're going to talk about that with the SPY. This is why we manage that risk. We talked a lot about that live this morning, but what stock is really causing some craziness out there? What stock is this pump and dump that Lucas is talking about? What stock is going to have retail holding the bag? That stock would be right here, your favorite, Nvidia. This one here is going to be the real meme stock, the real pump and dump scheme that they are trying to, as far as it goes, the market makers are trying to hold at higher levels. They are not allowing the shorts to actually win here. They are just taking the shorts, saying that calls are the better option and keep squeezing it to the upside. This is the pump and dump scheme that is going to crash the stock market. So let's look at it for a second. What do we notice here? We have flatness on the 30-minute, right? We have flatness on the 30-minute on the RSI down here, and we have flatness up here on the MACD, a little bit up. So even though I believe that this is a pump and dump scheme, and it really is, and if you want me to prove that to you real quick, we can look at a weekly scale and show you how this thing has gone up for a long time. This thing ever since pretty much 2023, even 2023, January 2023, let's say a little over a year, we have gone up 650%. This is a pump and dump scheme at this point. You are noticing that we're starting to get a weekly divergence, and this is going to be very bad if we start to close this week or next week at lower levels for Nvidia, and I am expecting a 62% drop. We talked about that over the weekend, but this thing can squeeze higher. Am I trying to short this? No, I am not. This is something that is very, very difficult to short because the more shorts you put in, the more they can squeeze you. So we are talking about this, and this is a great level to pay attention because one of the main rules we talked about live, because someone was upset that Nvidia keeps going higher and they sold out of this. It's a very good thing to do that. You know, the whole point of the stock, you want to go back to the basic rule of stocks. It is buy low and sell high. What is the stock right now? It is high. It is not low anymore. So what are you supposed to do when it's high? According to that phrase, not according to me, according to that phrase, buy low, sell high. And that's what I'm talking about here. So what do we want to pay attention to, though? This doesn't have to be the moment that it actually crashes down. I actually maybe could see this actually going a little bit higher, but I think we're going to see some turmoil over the next few weeks, and I think we might actually be getting a little bit off, right? We were spot on for so long, but we could be getting a top in June. So I think we will see this pull back eventually. Eventually, this will pull back when they decide it's going to. So I would very heavily encourage you, not to be looking into, at least as far as what I would do, I wouldn't even look at this stock right now. I would look at it in a form of, is it crashing down? Is that weekly divergence proving itself? But I would not be trying to trade Nvidia. This is very, very difficult stock to trade at this point because it is manipulated and you don't know how high they are going to push it. You do have some things here. Now, if you were going to take a play, well, if we want to get bullish, we still need some kind of pullback in order to get bullish. To be a diligent trader, we're going to need some pullback here in order to see some upside. So what could be happening soon? Well, soon we could very well be getting some kind of pullback, but we want to wait. We want to be patient as a trader. We talk about it in the course, be patient as a trader. See that curl down to the center line and curl up. Look at this right here. Curls down to the center line. We get that gap up, and what do? We go off to the races, right? So that's what you're looking for. Again, we're looking for that again, and we pay attention to how we can get screwed. Overall, Nvidia here not looking the best on the weekly scale, okay? The weekly scale is looking kind of bad. If this starts to fade at any moment, you actually have a weekly divergence, which can lead to some kind of reversal in trend. And you actually have pretty much multiple point divergence, right? You have one over here and one right here. So it is looking like we are most likely going to see Nvidia fade very soon, and I won't be trading this thing even with that information. I truly believe that that is the real pump and dump scheme. They're going to tell you that GME and AMC are, but truly that's hedge funds forcing it down. Okay, so we're going to talk about GME and AMC later on in this video. For now, we're going to pull up the SPY and get you those updated daily ranges. Those updated daily ranges are 532.06 to the upside, right? 532.06 to the upside. We do have 527.56 to the downside. So now we're starting to see a range spread out a little bit, and maybe we get up towards this weekly expected move. You remember early on, right, this weekend, we were talking about the 2 hour creating some kind of divergence here. And it's not going to be easy. They're going to fake you out. Okay. We talked about that. That's why we manage our risk. And at this point, this still looks like a likely scenario where if we curl up on this 2 hour, we're down by the center line, just like I said about Nvidia. We want to beat down to that center line, curl back up. That means positivity can come. And maybe we want to target this area right in here. This area right in here is going to be very important tomorrow and the next day. So Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to be paying very close attention to this area up here towards our weekly expected move. And for tomorrow, we're going to be paying attention if we get outside of 532.06 and confirm that as it goes through. So we're paying attention to this. Now, what is this saying at this moment? We said in that video on Patreon, yes, this can be a point of weakness. I want you to pay attention in case it is, but manage that risk. And as of right now, well, 15-minute hasn't curled up and we haven't gone positive. So even though we get this strong bar, this is probably pretty convincing to get out. But maybe even me, I did not get out of my positions because I want to make sure that that fully confirms. I want to make sure they're not trying to trick me here, get me out of some kind of position that then drops down the next day and then I get a worse position. So I'm overall going to be paying attention to if this actually crosses in the morning. I think it is very, very likely to see upside in the SPY tomorrow, but that is just me being risk managed. I still think this will end very badly very soon. We are still paying attention to XLU. If you need to go over XLU again, go back a couple of videos. Look for that Saturday video where we go over the macro side of things. XLU is not looking pretty, but it could be making some kind of divergence very soon. SPY on the 15-minute, if that turns up and goes positive, what happens? Well, it's in a positive trend, so we're going to test the high or go make a new one, and now you have some levels to pay attention to. And the reason that I think we had higher is because the Qs are in positive territory. The SPY was a little bit deeper on the 15-minute, but the Qs look like they could see that move upward. And the Qs are even closer with that range to that weekly expected move. So this is as far as the options market has priced in for the week. That would be the purple lines. And then the red lines are our daily expected moves, 462.73 to the upside and 456.63 to the downside. So this area in here is going to be very key for tomorrow. And I highly encourage you get these lines on your chart for the Qs. At this moment, what do we see on the 2 hour? Remember, we mentioned in that Patreon video not to get trapped, right? Don't get trapped in either way. So if that 15-minute curls up, no reason to take downside until that turns back down. That's how you learn about these things. That's how you learn how to manage your risk. You have to be willing to trade like water, and that's what we do on this channel. So what can we notice here? The 2 hour, if that curls up, what if that does curl up and then it's given away? We could see some point of divergence up here. Okay, now we could see that. It's not saying it has to happen. I'm not a magician. I'm not a psychic. I do not know exactly what is going to happen, but I'm paying attention to these type of signals because this might be the actual moment for some bigger downside. Right when everyone flips the script on the retail side and says, I give up, I'm buying calls, boom, they rip it from you. And that algorithm that the market makers have is very, very smart, and it knows when to pull that rug pull trigger. So pay attention because this 2 hour could be creating some kind of divergence, and we could go make another point of divergence, right? We could keep going. It's perfectly fine. We just want to pay attention to these points, be risk managed. Pay attention to these points, be risk managed the entire time, and then we will catch that final move down that is coming. Now, Apple, early on, we were just mentioning, hey, this went up towards its weekly expected move, and it started to fade. Now, people were asking, is this divergence? Technically, no, right? We do it on the closing of these bars. So technically, Apple, this is not divergence at this point. It did look weaker, right, on the 30-minute, but this 2 hour can still curl up. It's in positive territory. You're starting to see that rig move, that buying back up here from those market makers. And let's see, the 30-minute, was that able to curl up? Not just yet, but it is in positive territory. So something I'm going to pay attention to early on as of tomorrow morning is if we get a small divergence right here on a 30-minute. I know it's not overbought, but I think we do have a good shot of that. If we don't make anything like that, I just want to see if that 2-hour divergence is being created and confirmed. So at this point, we can pay attention that weekly expected move somewhere up in this area. Join the Patreon to get the individual stock weekly expected moves. It's down in the description. What are we noticing? Well, we could see an upside move. When Apple wants to head higher, what do we always say? It likes to break through, touch inside that zone, right? It breaks through an important zone, touches inside it, and then it goes a little bit higher. And right when everyone gives up on shorting this, that is when that algorithm's going to say, hey, puts are pretty cheap. Let's rug pull them. And that is probably what is going to happen with Apple. And the reason you should be worried about that 2-hour divergence and this 30-minute divergence forming is look how close the daily is to crossing. Now, this does still have time. You're still well away from the center line on the daily scale. So this could just be some kind of pullback that then leads to another push higher. And we will pay attention to that. I'm not necessarily leaning towards that at this moment, but that could change because I trade like water. Tesla is the complicated one. Tesla really is the complicated one. You have head and shoulders in here. But first of all, on the daily scale, if this curls over at any time, you're really close to the center line. So that means negative trend, which means bad things, right? This is a negative trend right here, and you don't want to be caught up in that at going long when you see a negative trend going. Something to learn from there. But I wanted to just start off on the 30-minute, show you guys how this has not curled up and it's not positive yet. Now, that could change tomorrow. That could easily change tomorrow. Look how close it is. But we want to make sure to wait for that signal. Now, if that 30-minute does curl up, it's really close to positive territory. Is it able to turn up the 2-hour? And then I can pay attention to my weekly expected moves. So the reason we have to pay close attention to this is because look where the 2-hour is. It's right in the middle. So this is saying, like, as far as tomorrow goes, it's kind of a 50-50 flip. And I'm going to say this head and shoulders might not even play out. And this might actually turn up and do something like this early on. But if we start to see, you know, the T1 start to get implemented, the CAT system implemented here, and that is bad for the market makers, for the short sellers, well, then we might actually see this start to crash down because it is starting to creep down into negative territory very subtly. So I would really pay attention to this level right here, about 173.50. Very important level. That's where we could break through, retest, and then see the bigger drop. Make sure we're risk managed in this portion, which is something we added to the course. That's right. The course is only $100. It's worth like $1,000. It's only $100 right now. Down in the link in the description. Make sure to grab that because it's only for 3 more days. Now, Amazon, if you were paying attention, it was able to do a key thing. It was able to curl up on this MACD right here on the 2-hour. And the reason we were paying attention to this for some kind of upside move, which we are still leaning towards a lower high. I think a lower high here is the most probable thing at this point. Now, I could be wrong about that, and that's perfectly fine. I trade like water, so I'm open to multiple scenarios, and I just pay attention to the signals. Right now, we're very deep in negative territory, so that just tells me, hey, good chance, hey, maybe if this even goes positive, that just rolls back down into negative territory, and then that would tell you that the negative trend is going to continue here. So the reason I'm looking at this is because of the 30-minute. Had some great divergences in here. Great divergences. It doesn't mean you can't manage your risk, right? This first divergence, you might be in. The second one, you might say, uh-oh, there could be downside, so I need to manage that risk. Okay, now I'm back in, now I'm out, now I'm back in, right? So this is one that ripped you around today. It is going to be a very complicated market, and that's why you need some skills in order to trade in a market like this. Ending strong at the end of the day. Looks like tomorrow we could see some positivity from Amazon, and we'll have to see if that's going to come to fruition, because right now you're still not positive, so we need this 30 minutes to go positive, but it looks like that 2-hour really wants to gain some steam here. So kind of giving a little bit of an edge to the upside for Amazon at this moment until I see a signal that proves me otherwise. Now, Nvidia already happened, right? We already talked about Nvidia, and so we're going to talk about its little brother, AMD. And the main signal to pay attention to here, yes, the 30-minute was able to curl over. We could see that ripped away. I'm going to take a play on AMD just to prove it. I am going to take a play on an AI stock, and I'm going to manage my risk and show you guys how to play this right here. So we're going to see a 2-hour divergence. If that confirms, I will be in this move, and I'll manage it myself, and I'll talk about it live with you guys covering AMD. Okay, so the reason that this trade is good is because you came up, you went to that weekly expected move. Live, I said, I bet that this goes to 174.50. What did it end up getting to? at the high there, 174.54. I was 4 cents off. Damn it, I was so close. But very, very good here. The reason I did that was just a straight up guess above the weekly expected move. So what am I looking for as of right now? Well, the thing that I am waiting for some kind of trigger for maybe my first position in this is going to be if we see upside, I am going to take a trade here, because if I see this happen and then I see that fall back down and break through this low, this is going to be a divergence on the 15-minute with a 2-hour divergence formed behind it. Not the best, right? I really like my 30-minute divergence, but this is an opportunity here as it's happening on Tuesday going into Wednesday morning. If we see positivity from AMD, I will be taking a play on that, and we'll be talking about that live. So I wanted to show you guys this and show you how you actually do these plays, okay? This is a learning moment. I'm not saying to join me on anything. I'm just saying this is how you look for setups. I see a 2-hour divergence. Now I formulate, how could I get into that move a little bit earlier if I can? If I can't, I can take that 2-hour divergence and then just manage that risk. So managing the risk is very important. That's why we put that video on the course. And if you already took the course, go look at it. We added to it. It's at the bottom. It's called Important Additional Content, where it will teach you how to get in and out of a losing trade. A losing trade can be very difficult. It's very difficult to hit that sell button. So AMD here, if we do confirm this 2-hour, the reason that I think it could be very bad, it's because you see the steepness on the MACD and the RSI at the same time. Great thing to see. And then you see the daily is by negative territory, which means it can get some major weakness. AMD can get some big weakness, and we can go test the low down here of 141.50, or we could head all the way down towards 133.50 is what I would say, 133 to 134. So I'm going to look at this and then maybe look for a divergence in the future. I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead. That will really help you out as a trader. Let's go into Meta. Meta on the daily, first off, you have to point out it is in negative territory. It still hasn't really been able to go fully positive here. So we want to pay attention here. What can we pay attention to? Well, first of all, the 30-minute right now. The 30-minute right now is crossed over, not confirming upside again on the MACD. And it hasn't really got overbought yet. So I think we do have potential for an upside move, but that might be brief. Now, why would I say that might be brief? First of all, if we're going to break down from here, it makes sense. So bearish first, hey, this level right here is proven to be pretty damn important. So I think it's right at this wick, this 462 level, very, very important. So we have to pay attention to that. And we do have a head and shoulders. So if that starts to break, this would be an interesting one, because that means we would go negative retest and then maybe break through 453.08, okay, 453.08. So if we're going to see positivity early on, a move like this, the 30-minute is going to tell me, hey, I'm crossing up on my MACD. And it's not going to have divergence, but it will have a 2-hour divergence over here. That would be very interesting. So if this actually sets up a triple divergence for Meta early on in the day, and this actually fades above that weekly expected move, well, then that would be another trade setup that you want to pay attention to. So these are the types of things that we talk about on Patreon. We do it during market hours. So encourage you, if you want to get that information, it costs you about $7 a month. It's a cup of coffee a month, and it's very, very cool because you get those trade setups during market hours. Now, we were warning you about a downturn overall in this video, and tomorrow we're going to put out another one to Patreon showing you these setups if they start to form. You guys know I am in AMC, and this is the meme stock that they're convincing you is the pump and dump scheme, and it really isn't. This is actually just a stock that is super suppressed down. It is suppressed down by these short sellers, and therefore, if some illegal activity is happening here and they just hold the stock, hey, that thing could see a rip, and it could rip higher. I don't want to give any quotes of where it could go, because I don't want people like thinking, hey, it has to go to $1 million or something like that. All we want to pay attention to is how can we learn from it. We can still treat it just like every other stock, and right now the 2-hour is in positive territory, and that crossed up live, and that's what we were talking about on this strong bar up for AMC. So right now it's funny because I'm going to take a trade in AMD, and I'll be playing AMC in the other direction. But right now, what do we notice? 2 hours in positive territory. Got to manage that trade. Looking at a 30-minute here, that actually crossed down. So I did take out one position. I have multiple positions in this, and I told you one of them I am going to manage my risk. The other one I'm going to let ride. So this one here, managing the risk. So this bar right here told me there is no reason to take upside yet, but I'm leaving that other position in case we see a gap up. So right now, this would tell me if I see positivity early on in the morning, then I can get back in that move. Why? I'm turning up into positive territory. One reason you have to be a little bit worried here for AMC and why it could see weakness is because you do have divergence here and you're kind of flagging out, but you do see the downward move on the MACD. You do see the kind of flat move here on the RSI. So we could experience more of a downturn. Therefore, I'm managing my risk, seeing if this wants to get close to the center line and then curl back up. And maybe that is the moment that we're going to see a big upward move for AMC. So pay attention to the 30-minute chart and your 2-hour chart for AMC. Make sure both of those are going positive. That means it is in a positive trend. And if this wasn't AMC and this was any other stock, what would we be saying in positive territory? A positive trend means the price action is going to go up. But right now, that has crossed down. So we may get a further pullback and then have to see that curl right back up. This is why I'm glad I left some runners. GameStop actually not confirming downside on the 30-minute here, not confirming that pullback, actually seeing a strong bar at the end of the day there, a strong bar in like the last 5 minutes. I think if I pull up the last 5 minutes, what are you going to see? Well, the last 15 minutes, we see a run up here. So what's happening now? The 5-minute was able to go positive in that last bar. So we could see positivity right away in the morning. That's why I'm glad I left those runners for AMC, because they kind of work in tandem. So right now, GameStop, this is a great one here. Was it able to curl up on the 2-hour? It's a little different. Okay, it was able to curl up on the 2-hour, but it's down here in negative territory. Okay, that's why AMC, just in my opinion, with my trading strategy, looks a little bit better as far as a positive trend goes. If this can start to go positive, that would be a great thing. And do not kid yourself. This here, it looks really bad, right? If you zoom out, it looks really bad, right? This really came down, that they're convincing you this is a pump and dump scheme. It's in negative territory. There's a lot of bad things to say. But if we just zoom out to a daily context, where are we? We're actually in positive territory. So even though a lot of people telling you like GameStop is dead, well, in order for GameStop to be dead, it has to be going negative, right? It has to be going negative in a negative trend. It's still positive on the daily scale. So we could come and fill this gap. We'll have to pay attention to that. We're still paying attention on the 30-minute for any kind of pullback. So if we do see a pullback tomorrow, what are we going to do? We're going to see this get close to the center line and then curl back up if it has another positive move in it. And then we would say this is the moment where we could see some big price action to the upside for GameStop. The dollar is the second to last thing we're going to talk about. Then we're going to talk about volatility. Remember, I still have a volatility play as well, and I'm scaled into that move. I think volatility is going to come back in dramatically very soon, so I am in that play. Now, what is happening here? The 4-hour able to get down into negative territory, but notice how close it is to positive. So if this starts to go green, you can be contrarian bullish because this is bearish technically right now in a negative trend. But if that prints a green bar on the histogram, you can be a little contrarian. Then if that goes positive, we would say the dollar is bullish, which means bad things for stocks, bad things for Nvidia, and that rug might very well be pulled very soon. So we'll have to pay attention to the dollar going forward. I just wanted to really show you how it's beat down to, past the center line going negative. And now if that curls up, that's a very bad thing. And what are we noticing? Again, this is a very, very big thing. The dollar up 0.03%. I believe it was up more than that on this bar here. It might be up a little bit more than that actually, but the SPY up as well. So that is telling you as of right now, insiders are selling as of today. Insiders are selling as of yesterday, or as of Friday, and today being Tuesday, because we have a shortened trading week. So really pay attention if this dollar starts to scale up, because that can get dramatic to the upside. And if we end up seeing a very strong move and curling up this daily and that goes positive, we could see some kind of big downward price action in the overall market. I do want to talk about volatility because this is huge. This is huge. You are seeing a green impression on the histogram for volatility. That is telling you that this can really start to scale up. But there are a few things going for you here. So let's talk about the bullish context first as far as the VIX goes. Volatility can scale up because the 2-hour is positive and the daily just crossed over. So I wouldn't fight against too much momentum in the volatility. But there's one signal here that is telling us we could get another big push higher. Maybe the market makers want to rig it even more. The 30-minute is showing you a divergence here from these two highs. You're seeing a higher high here. What are we noticing about the momentum indicators? Boom, that is pointing down. Looks like it wants to cross early tomorrow. Boom, that is pretty even actually, a little bit down here, but pretty even on the RSI. So you have them technically at the same time. And therefore, what could we see? We could see this pull down, maybe get close down to 1212 again, and then see that rip back up. So what am I paying attention to as far as volatility coming back in? Paying attention to the volatility going back down to the center line and able to curl back up into positive territory. That's going to be a big moment for volatility to really start to scream higher. So what's the main takeaway here? It looks like we could see some kind of upward move, but I believe that this rug is going to be pulled very, very soon. Do not get tricked by anything like Nvidia. This is pretty much the main point of the day is Nvidia is the manipulated stock to the upside. It has a ton of money in it. Therefore, if it starts to crash down, you have to be very, very worried. This is looking like volatility wants to turn up while Nvidia needs to at least pull back while the overall stock market might crash with those XLU signals. And we can point that out just for a brief moment here. Leave that XLU signal up real quick, because what are we noticing? The XLU, the utilities here, were able to turn down. This is a crash signal, and especially a crash signal if we get one more run up and then that is given away. That is a huge crash signal for utilities. We'll pay attention to this tomorrow morning. Please join us tomorrow morning live, and make sure if you want to learn about these things, you take that course down in the description, $100 for the next 3 days. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great night. Good luck with all your trading tomorrow, and I will see you live. Peace.